Hello and welcome. This is Praedyth from AllReasonNoLogic, and you're joining me as I do a deep dive into the most recent game between myself and Pigz to analyze exactly how and what occurred and to try and work out how exactly both of us could play better in the future. Something to note in this game, neither Pigz nor I had a good start. The game launched us directly in without giving us the option to pick our positions. So we're only just getting our first buildings up at the 30-second mark, and we're not pre-planning, we're just playing straight away. I've decided to go with a 3 mechs directly into wind, which is a mistake. If you're going 3 mechs, you actually need to build yourself a solar, because you'll be essentially completely out of energy by the time you get that third mechs up. So, small misplay by me just to start off the bat. Pigz, on the other hand, got his wind first, and then his metal. Would recommend getting the 2 metals first, and then the wind. But Pig's going to be significantly faster getting a lab up. In this case, it's going to be bots versus tanks. Already you can see that I've got a 3 incisor start to try and hold that middle ground, this map being very choke heavy, only one place and no form of harassment. So my thought process in this at this time is to try and hold Pigz at the middle. I know that if I can stop him from harassing me, I will out-eco him and outplay him, because Pigz tends to leave metal and energy available on the map. Pigz using his commander to get out a couple of pawns significantly earlier than I'm going to get my first incisor out. Pawns build faster, are cheaper, and are a little bit faster, so this is going to be a brawn versus speed fight. Again, another small misplay by myself. Needed more wind to get that out efficiently. Pig's already getting 3 pawns. Depending on how you micro, a single incisor will actually beat 3 pawns, but this is a potentially game-ending mistake this early on, which is me leaving my incisor completely unattended, so Pigz will be able to get a surround and kill my incisor without taking any significant losses. If you notice what happened just there, the pawn was actually able to out-rotate the turn speed of the turret, meaning that it did not die. Now, if we look at this one, this is a microed incisor against the pawns. You can see me constantly trying to move it to allow for decent turning radius. Depending on how well you keep the tank going in any one direction and how few pawns you engage at any given time, the incisor can effectively counter them with its greater range. Pig's getting more pawns out and still using his comm to push those out. Myself doing much the same, but knowing that I need to get a constructor out in order to push an eco advantage. I see the large number of pawns, so I decide to go and attack early. As you can see, well microed incisors are very capable of taking out pawns without taking much damage. But the number of pawns is about to be completely overwhelming, and I do not have many units coming out of the way. My builders are focusing on a build turret, so it's going to be 3 incisors, technically only 2 at the front, because of a bad rally that heads over to the front. So we're gonna slow this down once the fight happens, and we're gonna see we're gonna talk about exactly what it is that I tried to do here. With a radar coming up, I'm about to see the mass of pawns, and I'm going to know that I'm in big trouble. So 4 incisors, getting them ready, getting them all pointed in a similar direction so that I can micro them against those pawns. If I have any chance against this, it's by fighting one side. So here we go, slowing down the fight. I immediately grab those pawns, and you can see I'm not trying to engage, I'm trying to bring them around the outside to attack the line from the side. This many pawns should easily overcome the incisors, but with good micro I was able to take several of them out. I then realize I've lost the fight, so I try to back run Pigz. I try and push my vehicles into his base in an attempt to stop him from attacking, which worked. That bought me a few extra seconds. This one incisor isn't going to do very much, but I am about to get pounders on the way, and pounders are very, very strong against these units. So jumping back up to full speed, Pigz is going to push into my base, and he does not know where my base actually is. He's unaware of which side, so he splits his forces and tries to go for both sides, which is the correct thing to do. He pushes them past all of the mexes. I would have used a fight command, but movement is reasonably good provided you decide to micro them. His objective here is to try and do as much damage to me because he has a greater investment in army than I did. Unfortunately, now that there's only a handful of units here and my pounders are out on the field, Pigz will struggle to get much more done. These units, leaving them here is, at least leaving this one here, is a decent idea because I most likely don't have vision range of it, which means that he could use that one pawn to sneak into my back line. However, I've considered this and put an LLT down. My units heading up to the front line, that 1 pounder very damaged, but will still get a lot of damage done against pawns. And my default build queue is the 3 pounders, 1 Wolverine and 1 Lasher. The Lasher gives line of sight, the Wolverine gives the ability to take down enemy LLTs, and the Pounders are exactly what you need to fight on the front line. Pulling these tank backs, I'm going to slow this one down again. Getting the comm into the fight. Everyone, one thing you have to remember when playing these games is the comm is one of the most powerful units early in the game. Using the D-gun to try and take out large chunks of Pigz's metal. Getting rid of these maces is allowing my pounder to stay alive and shoot the back of my comm, but this is one of the best ways to hold against a larger force, and that is to allow your comm to soak up some of the damage, but not so much that you get that you actually get destroyed. Jumping back to full speed, I've sent 1 pounder over to the pawn that I knew was there, and I'm about to send it down to check any of the other spots. I'll send him down there and then up to the top just to clear out and make sure that Pigz hasn't left anything behind. Good thing I did. And I'm sending a builder out to get all the mexes, because at the moment Pigz will definitely have a metal advantage over me, but I have the army advantage and the middle ground advantage, so I'm going to be able to reclaim a lot of this metal. Jumping forward just a little bit, nothing super exciting happens here. I continue to build my units. Pigz will go for another attack, but as soon as he sees the LLTs and the pounders, he knows not to push that. And Pigz is now in a lot of trouble because tanks, particularly in a choked fight, have a huge advantage against bots. Their firepower and their HP just means that it's going to be very hard for Pigz to put through. Putting down a couple of LLTs and a radar to keep an eye on, miss micro, degunned one of my own tanks. Things happen. But just a bit of a lull in the game, so we're going to speed this one up. I push forward with my comm to get more of the metal. I feel very safe doing this because of how close my tanks are, and because I'm paying reasonably good attention to it. As soon as I hear the fire, I start pulling him back, and I'm ready to pull these tanks forward. Just trying to get that metal, trying to get as much army up as possible while I build those mexes. Pigz done a better job than I have with controlling the mexes in the background, but very limited options, and he makes a good call, trying to get a vehicle lab to match me vehicles for vehicles. It's still going to be quite a hard fight for him, because I have the vehicle advantage. Bit of a waste of metal here trying to push ticks through. Against the pounders, it might have been possible. With the LLTs backing them up, those were never going to get through. Leaving the lab here is a mistake. Pigz could have used that metal in order to get more vehicles out. The shell shockers are not a bad idea. Letting him start getting some chip damage with me, and it would potentially force me into a fight, though I think it would be a fight that I'd win at this point. The blitzers are a mistake. If pawns aren't going to push this line, blitzers aren't going to push this line. So this is me putting Pigz out of his comfort zone by forcing him to play against tanks and using a very strong point. Just going to speed the game up again until we attack, because not very much happens. Bit of wind starving, but as you can see, Pigz, same problem, and he's in a grid, so they'll all mass react. Now it's time for just a creep forward. I have all of my units coming out of the factory on a alt group, so the pounders come in as alt 1 because they're a frontline unit. My whistlers and my lashes come out as alt 2, and I mentioned this before, but the lashes give a lot of vision range, which allows the pounders to be a lot more effective. And I'm just going to slow push this through, and once I'm happy with my energy, my comm is going to start healing those units. The blitzers manage to do a little bit of damage, but similar to pawns, they're not going to do very well against those pounders. Pigz is in a lot of trouble, and if you get put in this sort of position, sometimes the best thing to do is a Hail Mary play. Instead of trying to fight me one-on-one, a comm snipe, I currently have very little in the way of air defenses, only these 2 lashes. If Pigz had transitioned into an air lab and eaten his vehicle lab, my slow pounders would have struggled to get across the map and kill him before he potentially could have destroyed my commander. But with the pounders frontlining and the Wolverines and Whistlers backlining, there is not much Pigz can do to stop this push at the moment. My initial plan is to try and go for Pigz base out of the gate, but because the comm is in between, and because I'm not sure exactly how much he has left, only seeing radar blips from this frontline radar, I'm unsure whether he's building units, but turns out these are farms, so I'll soon turn these around and just clear up his eco. I'm not too worried about these tanks. The range on them should keep away most things, other than a big rush, at which point I'd take them back behind the LLTs and rely on my commander's D-gun. During this, I'm going to attempt to get more of the reclaim, though I could definitely be spending this more efficiently. I've upped myself to 3 build turrets, but I could, based on my metal income and all of the reclaim, I certainly could have gone for more, but my army value is massively exceeding Pigz's army value, so not a huge chance of a loss for me at this point. The LLT is preventing a run by, a couple of pounders for similar reasons, and my units just heading along the back. I try and group them up together. Bad against a comm, but at this point I know where the comm is, so not super worried. Pigz goes for some D-guns, but I know with the health of the comm and the fact that he won't be able to maintain invisibility with the wind farm down, nothing he can do. So the key points that I thought were takeaways from this, from my perspective, was that I definitely did not have enough early defense. I relied on micro and non-aggression out of Pigz to deal with those pawns. I was sloppy with my mechs placement. I did not get enough builders going around placing those, so Pigz was able to get an advantage. But my read of the map was a lot better, going tanks over bots and forcing a very strong front line with a ranged back line. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. I hope it helps you in the future with your own videos. I find that watching replays of my own games helps massively with improvements, because you can see a lot more from this perspective than you can while playing. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you've got any interesting replays that you want me to do this for, send them over to the AllReasonNoLogic Discord that's in the description. And if you ever want to play with us, we play reasonably set times on a Wednesday and a Sunday. Feel free to jump in to the Discord and join us for the live stream. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll catch you next time.